3, 2.
Wait, August 21st, 2025 at 9:33. Oh, did I say 21st? Thursday, August 21st at 9:33 a.m. Pacific time and Mark. Thank you. So I asked you to resume the discussion from yesterday because when I took our conversation and I went into the edit and listened to the beginning, I was feeling like I didn't quite get to the place of what I was looking for in the discomfort part. And even just prior to turning it on now, you said you didn't feel discomfort. I did, because in the trying to get to what we did with the Shakespeare sonnets and such, but that's also part of the creative process too, right? Like that, finding your way.
What did you find discomforting about it?
So remembering that we can edit out any pieces that you're not going to like or that I'm not going to like. But some of what we've talked about before is I perhaps might see this idea that I think's amazing because it's you and you're so talented and here's this, here's that, and I'll see all these pieces vividly and go, okay, we can do that. But then part of it is your buy-in, your interest, whatever way to describe it. Because I know we did have some uncomfortable stuff around buy-in and you were apologizing to me for not buying into it. And for me, buy-in needs to be an authentic, real thing that you want to do, not a placating for somebody to be nice because you don't want to hurt their feelings, maybe. Does that
works in there, yeah.
Because we love each other, we like each other, and we want to keep it that way. So that's the other difficulty in working together on work projects where there's that balancing act, that razor's edge, but because we've been in this as a different areas of the profession to know that you have to get, well, you're going to get feedback whether you like it or not. If you put it out into the world and you haven't done the work, you're going to get the feedback in the nice piece of shit you made there, but or nice gloss over, like you're going to get the wah either in the numbers, the actual feedback, whether it's in national, you've been privy to that on a much bigger scale than I ever have. But I've been in a room doing stand-up where you've either witnessed other people or you've seen and you just go, okay, that didn't go so well. Or even just the way a show gets planned, like that stand-up gig, I did it on International Women's Day, and the woman invited me to stage, and it was that big, brightly lit room, and it was just so poorly planned out. Somebody who doesn't know how performance or how to gel an audience that's going to watch comedy invites me to the stage. I'm walking up, and then she invites them over to the buffet table.
Right.
And then I'm trying to do stand-up to a bunch of empty tables with people talking about macaroni salad, and I'm supposed to be doing stand-up. You need their attention a little bit, kind of. not hearing them clinking, it's just
nothing worse than standing up there and hearing the clink of hundreds of people chowing down and yapping and
you've had that,
talking with each other around the table, and then you're up there trying to say, hey, we have a program here. I'm just going to keep going forward whether they listen to or not. Oh, yeah.
And that's us planning. We've written for events like that. We know. And sometimes we're writing for people. They have these grandiose ideas of what they're going to do over their 6-hour. Yes, the audience would love to sit and listen to your 6-hour long. Let everyone make their long speeches. Sheesh. Like the reality of doing it and knowing it as a performer. Why are plays not what they used to be, 4-hour long, or attention spans, physical, mental fatigue? even the conversation we had yesterday, about the hour and a half-ish, or I'm not exactly sure, but we were running out of steam.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the discomfort, so don't get too far off of it. Part of the discomfort for me was I realized it's like I was lobbing ideas, and also even just YouTube in and of itself, it was part of my attempt in our schematics of our relationship and our business and our gig work. It's a lot of moving parts. You get something happening like you're doing with this audiobook, you're going to be gone. You're completely gone. And so I'm trying to also plan things that I can work on, that are things that I can do myself, that doesn't require paying somebody, because most of the stuff that we're doing in this regard, it's on speculation that it'll turn into something. And I have a myriad of ideas of what some of that is that I won't go too sidetracked, but stuff that's part of the business. I'm a business consultant. I'm a producer. I'm a performer. I'm a writer. I'm a designer. I've done these things. It sounds like somebody just saying a bunch of shit, which it is, but depending on who you talk to, who I compare myself to, I have been paid professionally in all of those capacities. I've just decided in some cases not to pursue them all actively because I like a creative challenge. But because I do like that, I'll lob things to you. In my own mind, I've kind of set them out going, ooh, this, and then I'll do that, and this will be great, and you're so good, you can just waltz in and do these things. And then I set out a lot of stuff in advance, and I haven't actually checked in with you, but it's also because I'm trying to fit it in while I have you between projects. So, and also a lot of what I have done, why I gravitated to stand up, is because it's just me. As being raised an only child, I mean, I had a few step sibling experiences being locked in a cabinet and some other memories. But I'm used to doing my own thing. I'm used to lone wolfing, even like working out or running when I was a trainer, and I'd have people go, oh, let's go for a run together. And I'm like, I'd rather stick my hand in a blender, whatever. I like my own company. I like doing my own thing. And I'm used to planning stuff that I don't have to rely on somebody else because they either slow me down or it's just more practical. And moving around a lot, like we've talked about, I could just stop, drop, and roll on my own schedule. I'm motivated. I have a certain level of risk tolerance challenge that I'm I'll try out skydiving. I'll go, I'll do things that maybe other people might find risky. And there's other stuff that I'm like, no, thank you. So I go ahead on all of that, predicated on my own appetites for things. That was my mistake. That is my mistake that I make. But it's also, I'm good with giving you certain things and having it rejected. I'm used to that from a whole bunch of life experiences and why I seek it out and stand up. But I want a genuine thing that you're interested in. So that was my discomfort, as I kept kind of jumping ahead, I think, because it was fitting in with the business aspect. It's fitting in with me being able to do something, but I was still trying to figure out where and how to put it so that the bottleneck isn't just around your interest. That was, or putting that I set the whole thing, because your interest is still critical no matter what, but just where and how before I started building a bunch of shit. And now I just realized too, this is another thing like that project we got from that person who I won't say where and too much about, but they put all of that money in, like that one that we got 2 times. They just sent it out of the blue. And then I found out that it got sent to somebody on their own, mentioned it to me. A PR person got it. Like, I think that got sent. I don't know. I would guess that they probably even spent maybe like, what would you think? Like $100,000 maybe?
Probably, yeah.
It looks like they spent a lot of money. The production value was great, but it wasn't, you know, I applaud them, but wow, that's a lot of time and money. But I didn't want to be that for us. Put all this time, effort, and stuff into something and then bring it to you. I didn't go that far, but in my mind, I would go, ooh, this is going to be, and then I'd see you and it'd be like, wah, wah. That's uncomfortable. Because then I felt like I'm pulling out the dog and pony show for you to try to attract your attention to something I want to do for us. But without your genuine interest, the work's just not going to be as good. So even when you would, I remember you apologizing for not having buy-in, and I feel upset right now thinking about it, because I don't want you to apologize for not buying in. I don't want you to do something that you don't really want to do, because it's us taking our time. It's our time that's really valuable, and us working together. So trying to find something that appeals to you, and the learning process of that, of us working together on something we are driving ourselves, not a deadline for, say, writing for the debaters or something that's under somebody else's schedule and parameters, you know, like writing for CBC. You're not going to be, we're not going to go as edgy, or certain things we know will get, well, we did get pushback on stuff that made us cackle, and then we would adjust. But for landing on, like, some of this sounds really like, duh, why didn't you? But I just was wanting to get going. That's also me. You know that. I
get the same way too. Let's just do it. Yeah.
But for my own too, like, I don't want to wait on somebody. So then I just wanted to go, but then I'd see you and I'd go, oh, this looks like a shit sandwich at a picnic. And then it was uncomfortable. But it's also, then I think I could see you going, oh, well, you're not into it. You're just not that into it. And that part, that's totally fine. But I also know it was my own sense of like, oh man, I did it again. I started down a path too far with too many expectations before I checked in with you. So it's just that simplicity of reining it back in earlier, and even just recording what this process is like, learning it. And then the thing, because I had talked on the email list before, my email list, about working with family, because I've done it before running a business with my mom where lawyers and people are our main clientele. Wasn't easy. It is like threading a needle in a hurricane in some ways, because if I just barreled ahead and went, yeah, go fuck yourself, I'm going to do what I want anyways, which I hope that's not what my vibe is, doesn't make for a long, fruitful marriage and relationship. You're my best friend. I don't want to F that up. I want us to have as much peace and harmony with us, more than I want to go viral, like, we've each had our own levels of stuff that we've achieved and attained outside there. And we know that it's not what it appears. It's not what somebody sees. You're in a parade for corner gas in Toronto, going like the Christmas parade, and you're on a stage with, press, red carpet stuff. But you come home, we're still us at home, making dinner, going through the stuff that everybody else goes through. So I don't want to taint that. It's a tricky kind of a balance. So that's the discomfort I went through. But I'm wondering for you, when you would see, was it like you saw my hopes get dashed when I would bring you things? Is that part?
Yeah, and it's also just self-reflection. It's like, what am I answering the question? What am I interested in? And it's obvious. The big thing is working, getting paid to work is a big interest of mine. Working on projects, but self-creating projects is a whole other thing. It's like, oh, okay, never thought of it. It's I don't know what does I get inspired about. I love words. I love incredible writers and playwrights, and then I come up with the idea, and then, or I latch onto the idea of doing words, and then getting into the minutia of that is like, first of all, you can't just do any words. You have to do the public domain, because then copyright comes in. You can't you can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And it's just like, oh, well, there's a fire hose. Can't do what excites me the most about, oh, I love this, but the reality is you can't do it without their right.
Yeah, I know.
So that's not your doing. It's just the way the world is, the law and stuff. And it's like, if you're not aware of that, then it's like, oh, okay.
So I felt like a fun wrecker sometimes, because I'd bring that reason. Or you'd go, ooh, like we just had that recently with the Dylan Thomas stuff, where it looked like it was, because it was available, I believe, in the UK and in other regions of the world. But because public domain law isn't the same everywhere, and I've been immersed in British common law stuff through my background with lawyers. I did the Osgood Certificate in Entertainment Law. So you'll start to go, and that's maybe that's the equivalent for you. You start to go down a path going, ooh, I'll go do this thing. And then I'm like, wait a second, and dash your hopes. I remember seeing that. So that's part, okay? And then I just heard you say something that I want to just circle back to, because I think leaving it dangling, I know you have more in your mind that you didn't say, where you said about working for money interests you, because we're gig workers. I know, because it's part of the profession, but it isn't just about making money. That's for sure. Like that's not why you got into it. It's the creativity, but the reality is being essentially like gig workers. It is, all the things are gigs. So making money for sure. There's lots of ups and downs, like, right? The making hay while the sun shines, or that year, I don't remember if it was 2019, we were all flipping over the place. I think like you may have dropped down into Calgary to do the debaters for less than 24 hours or something, or 48. Like you were maybe 24. Maybe you dropped in and did the thing.
Than 24, yeah.
That was crazy. Like there was so much travel. But this is part of the stuff, because now reminding again and hearing and evolving through this is that I know that, you said your part in the process has been a different part. You're usually brought in after the thing's already been, like you have done story consulting and dramaturgy and things where you help facilitate somebody getting their stuff made. So for sure you have that. You've workshopped a lot of things. But usually when you're brought in as an actor or a director, all the other pieces have been done. And I'm used to maybe making it from scratch. Your like, I remember that play you took me to in Toronto, that down in the basement one. I don't remember the actors' names, but the play, is it The Motherfucker with the Hat? Oh my God. The play is amazing, but so were those actors. Like you said, there's some of the like pros, super pro. Yeah. And to be in the room down on the floor, the way they mounted it, it was just, it's just incredible. And then wanting to see you in a play like that, because knowing your chops and going, that'd be excellent. But the business part of mounting productions and things, it's just so different than what, like the conversations we've had before, where you'll get a theater thing, which live performance is just so satisfying.
So it's the whole rehearsal process, the whole making of it. But a live theater show is an incredibly enjoyable experience from beginning to end.
But it often it usually pays the least.
Yep.
Because it's live theater. So there's only so many people that can fit in the room. So you've got to sell the tickets, you've got to plan, you've got to do all that. Usually it's like about a year out in some cases, like if it's a big theater, especially A houses, the big theaters. So you need to book way far out, and then it pays the least, but it's the most satisfying. So there's that paradox of that. But because there's all these different speeds of things, my background and training in, like, say, project management, or looking about how do I move these parts around, knowing that it's going to take umpteen weeks to get something ready, and that perhaps I only need you for a section of it, but I also need your buy-in, your interest, your spark of curiosity, because you're not getting paid for it. And it's taking away from the paying work. And we aren't, we're not, we're not, I don't want to, we were watching that show with that one on Prime. We're not Nepo babies. We're still, like, we're working artists. We're business people, or we are in the profession. We're in an industry. We want to work. We want to work for money as well. But we also want to work on stuff that's creatively challenging. Not just the same, not the same crap that shows up at the door sometimes, where you go, oh God, this crap again. And I won't say what it is, but sometimes it's the danger of having something that somebody's seen and goes, ooh, I'll get them for that. And then you go, If it's something you're interested in doing, yeah, but if it's the same thing over and over, that's the thing. Who wants to do the same crap over and over again? At least for us, talking about a creative challenge, then it becomes about finding the layers within it. But if you're getting paid for it, getting paid as an artist, that's a art unto itself too. Finding a way to keep your, your energy, your will, your ego, your mental health, your physical health, your financial health, all of those things. Like, it's a balancing act. The stuff of keeping yourself calm enough to be able to perform. But there's so many moving parts. So there were things that I just tried to speed ahead on. So that was part of it. And then also knowing that you're looking elsewhere. You're not looking and I'm speaking a little bit for you in thinking about what I think I'm recognizing more clearly, which feels kind of foolish, but it's like, this is trying to examine it deeper, that I'm just trying to go. Like, I'm like, I'll go do this. I'll go do one of these. I'll make one of these. Like, when you were laughing that time when we were in Winnipeg, I was writing for a TV show, and I had just got gallery representation at that major, location for the gallery, and you were shaking your head laughing, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I say? And what did you say? You said something. What did you say again? You go, she wants to write for TV. She's writing for TV. She wants to paint. She paints. She wants gallery representation. She gets gallery representation. And you were just laughing. And I thought you were laughing at me, but you were you, I don't know, what would you say, what was happening, that you were like just acknowledging that I go after, that I go after things and get them. And so I went, oh, okay. So I didn't stick my foot in my mouth. That's what I thought you were laughing at, because I thought that was more likely. But the other piece, I still think back, though, that I impressed you. That made me feel good. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That you see that I'm striving. I'm striving to go after things. Now, a whole bunch of them didn't exactly go where, like the gallery thing, I ended up not going, because the more I continued to learn about that industry, the commissions and the business, and I know business. I've been business too. I've been entrepreneurial and the dollars and cents. And then anytime especially when you monetize creativity, I find there's usually something quite suffocating that goes along with it. Because as soon as you start making money, like that other painter's work that I saw in there, who I won't name because I don't want it to become about that, but I love his work so much. And then, because I'd heard at other places, the gallery will want you to keep making what's selling. And if you're bored of what's selling, they don't care. They're in business. This wasn't like it's not charity work. It's a business. Yeah. They've got rent to pay. Bricks and mortar's expensive. Art's a hard sell. If you're not selling what consumers are buying, you're going to go out of business too. So they need to lean on you to do what. So that 50% commission. And then also I'd have to pay to ship my stuff out there. Still kind of on spec in a way. And then if my stuff doesn't sell, heard that from like 30-year veteran artists getting pissy when I told them I made a big sale because they just got let go from their gallery because they're doing the same kind of work. And then I just went, oof, I'm not into this at all. It took something I really love. And as soon as I started to monetize it, and I'd see other people going, oh, you should sell that stuff. And I'm like, just shoot me now. It was just it every time, even like doing corporate stand-up. So I know it's different for you, maybe in some of it, because when you do theater there are times like those magic times, some of the people that I've gotten to meet, is that a word? That I got to meet, that I met through the time being around. But it's huge undertakings, like the thing of mounting a live theater production or mounting a whole season and then trying to get people to show up, bums in seats. And nowadays, knowing how much people's attention's getting fractured, like even bums in seats to the theaters, and how much that has changed. I mean, there used to be drive-ins. I don't know if there's probably a few around, but things have changed a lot. It's not just the same broadcasters and the broadcasters' dollars or control over eyes. Like it's all over the place. And the rules of how things like in Canada, CRTC and Cavco, I won't go into but my background, at least around the law and the taxation and how things flow across borders, like things, I've mentioned before, like that person we worked with who had their funds in it was either Canadian or US dollars, and then the dollar fluctuates in a day, and then a $60,000 loss because of a few points with the dollar on the stock market, the currency fluctuations. And if you don't insure against foreign currency fluctuation, international treaties, co-ventures, like there's a lot of different legal rules and financial things. So we're juggling around that. But my trying to interest you to do things that I'm making for us doesn't all of a sudden make it more interesting to you. I think if anything, it's more of a foreign land to get into a solo thing, or a almost semi-solo, because it's almost like a two-hander in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like it might be more akin to busking almost, really, asking you to come stand on a street corner and do a one-word story in front of people with me for no money, in a way, kind of. Would that be? So it's like, yeah, even this conversation is further enlightening, because I just thought this was my own major blind spots around how far I got ahead of myself with you in the plan, when with myself, I can self-edit and just go jump ahead and try it, do it, get it done, get it up and running, write the theme tune, sing the theme tune, but go in and do the design, set up a website, that's usually how I would just go. Like, I think I told you that time when, before we met, there was I was making money through doing facilitation workshops across the country, interactive keynotes and stand-up. So there was kind of a blend. And I think stand-up was probably about 60 or 70% of my income-ish. But then if I got hired for one, I would upsell the others. And then if I was there for facilitation, I'm like, oh, I do stand-up, because you're still up performing and people see your engagement level and your humor. And they're like, oh, for sure, we'll get you over for this or that. Or sometimes I would be hired for stand-up, and then I'd mention I do workshops, because sometimes it'd be a conference. I'm like, oh yeah, great, we'll get one of those too. So I was doing that. And this was back when faxes, I think, were still, this is a while ago. It was a little while ago. Or email blast, but to get my own work, sometimes I would design a sheet. I would design like a one sheet that had what I had to offer. I would write the copy for the email, and then I would target all of the places across the country, and I would resource where the places are. Because in some cases, this was like physical activity and or youth type workshops, because I would use some of my theater sports background training. And I'm formally trained, you know this already, but for anyone who might be listening, I am formally trained in adult education. I am trained the trainer certified. I have worked with training trainers in different, especially in personal training. I used to train trainers for a fitness organization, a national, maybe international fitness organization. But so I would go out and hawk my wares. I would put this out and then I would highlight. I'd use my design, my marketing training, my business training. I would source out the places to go target. And then I would do a mass hit to the places that would be perhaps likely. And in a few cases, I would I don't even know. I would do it until it could be weeks. It could be, however many a day. That I would hit. And then, because knowing the kinds of workshops I would see that people were hiring people for. And then one of them I did was I ended up being in a facilitator training, because it was, what is it? CAAWS, Canadian Advancement for something other for women in sport. But that I did one down at the BC or Canada Sports Hall of Fame. It was a facilitator training. And part of the contractual obligation was that if you took the free facilitator training, that you had to at least offer it once for free in the community, which I did. I ended up offering it downtown Vancouver at a center that serviced a lot of community members that would take part. So I did that. And then I took that and then I marketed that. Went across country, said, here's a few of the 3 kinds of workshops. And then I did a blast. And like one time I ended up getting a contract where I just happened at the right time. This organization had just tapped into national health funding to offer their own stuff in their workshop to help with population health, which is part of what my master's in business was around improving population health to decrease the burden on healthcare. And so I had the right timing. And then I ended up getting like a $8,000 to $10,000 contract for 3 days of workshops, 2-hour workshops in the community. And I did a Humor for Health workshop, and I've brought you in on that before, which felt like a no-brainer. We had fun on that AGM one that they were laughing their heads off. Yeah. Brought you in and had a lot of these things already developed. So at least I didn't need to fully start from scratch. But sometimes that's what would happen. I would just go out and go, okay, what do I do? What am I interested in? What can I look for? And I'd have an idea. I'd do the research and then I'd execute. That's just what I would do. And it doesn't mean I was always successful. But when you were laughing at me walking along the sidewalk, I thought I stuck my foot in my mouth, and you were just saying, you wanted to do this, you did it. You wanted to do that, you did it. You wanted to do that, you did it. Doesn't mean I'm raking in all the big bucks, but I want to test it. want to test it and see what's in it. Learn the thing, put myself, test my mettle, see where I end up, and then see how I can leverage it into my own sort of skill stack of what can I make? What can I hybridize and what can I monetize and get as much of what helps keep me sane in my own creativity and not just do commissions for people that are from people that they don't know how to, maybe lots of times they don't know how to do the thing that they're hiring you for. So they also don't have the vocabulary to describe it, which that becomes part of how excruciating it is. Like doing those book covers. But I didn't mind because the money wasn't very much and I wasn't giving them the work product for them to own the copyright for. They were just licensing the image, which meant whatever I was painting, they were still going to be mine. Whatever I was making, they'd still be mine, which is why I was more inclined to go through the discomfort because I don't even know. I think it might have been, was it like $250 or something? It wasn't very much. But I did a couple of book covers for a little bit of money for them to have the license because I wanted to see what it was like. And then it's kind of low stakes a little. It's not a lot of money. And they know they're not paying a lot of money. So they said too, like I tried a few things like that one that I did where, I don't know if you remember that skeleton one that's on the wall there. The initial one where it was darker before I painted it lighter, they said it was too scary. So then I ended up doing that other one that had the kind of orange and the teal, but then I didn't enjoy when it had to conform so much to somebody else's interior vision that they weren't very good at describing. And then I went, oh, this is just taking all the fun out of it for me. And I remember Brian Adio, those beautiful paintings of his that we have. I remember, I'm like, man, he's just so talented. But I remember hearing him talk about getting commissioned to do portraits. And he said it, not me. He's like, I'm not portraiture, it's not his thing. But he goes like, why would they want? And he's like, you're going to get, but it's unnerving, especially if it's not portraiture. Like his work would usually be like those, like, I don't know, like a suburban, beautiful, like tree-lined street or the ocean or abstracts or, what are those called again? The
Casters?
Casters, his Caster series. Yeah. Like those are just, oh my God, they're just gorgeous. But to hear him talk about doing commissions, it's just not, sometimes it's just not fun. But working for money is part of but circle back around though to the discomfort for me was that lobbing things and seeing you because I don't think you said this out loud, but is it like you feel like you're letting me down because you could see I had excitement and had gotten rolling?
Yeah, it is sense of letting somebody down.
Yeah.
And then the sense of you should be doing this, you should. It's like, well, if I'm not,
you should.
When I manufacture something for the sake of somebody else, it's never a good recipe. And
you should, is that the voice in your head telling you should like it because I'm your wife and you see I'm excited and you want to try to make me happy by saying, oh, that's really fun?
It's a long voice, but yes.
But when I hear the you should, I brace against it because I'm like, oh no, did I say that aloud or was that voice, your own voice?
And it's my own voice that says you should. And as soon as I hear that voice, I say, fuck you.
Well, that's why I'm making sure.
Instantaneous, and it comes, of course, from childhood of having some of my dad's wives say, you should do this, you should do that. And I had no agency then, so I couldn't. I had to. So there's that sense that scarring that's left over, and you go, no, I should go outside and walk around and just breathe some air and think about different things and try and get some, because, it's the creativity needs to be nourished. It can't just be depleted. It needs to be nourished with
can't
light.
Be bossed around.
Nourished with breathing, nourished with connection, nourished with just, your sense of getting grounded and not being overwhelmed by despair of employment opportunities or rejection, or, because
treating it like a child.
Yeah.
Like a
you have
vulnerable.
To protect it. You have to protect it, and you have to nourish it. And it takes, and people do it different ways. Some people take up new instruments or inquire into something, a new line of interest, or delve into that like you do, That's why it's inspiring to see you get curious about things, because then you go learn about it, and it's like, oh. And that inspires me to go, I should just, because there's a lot of that fear of failure that's rife throughout life. And in my life, if I try something and I'm not good at it, it's a failure. And the fear of ridicule, fear grabs hold in its many, hydra-headed forms, and it raves at you. So that's a lifelong thing. You read these biographies, and you see these famous stars, A-list stars who've made it, and at the root of all of them, they're still afraid. They're still got fear. And then as you get older in this business, your opportunities diminish. Look at Al Pacino. He's working with Adam Sandler because no one was offering Al Pacino work, and Adam Sandler said, no one's giving you a job. Come work on my film. And he goes,
And then also from my side too was the business, from what I recalled hearing with him. But it's happened with a lot of people, with professional athletes, with, I think Johnny Depp had that too, like the thing of having managers that rip, well, you're making so much money, you don't know that you're...
he took $80 million off of me, and you didn't notice?
That would be an interesting...
That's a different kind of money problem.
That's a different... Like when we wrote remember when we regretted not taking the low-hanging fruit of slagging Nickelback? Yeah. And it's not about not, truth, but knowing that slagging Nickelback would have been easier than going into what was the money can't buy happiness, or money buys happiness. Yeah. And then we were going out on those walks and then going, shit, why didn't we take Nickelback?
Because we're
tapping into our memories of not having things. It's like a little too real. But hearing you talk though about, that's why I was just checking. It's more about when hearing the you should, like the horror of me going, have I said that aloud to you? And I'm going, but I'm also not happy that it is your own voice, but I understand it because it's the same. I hear the you should and the same thing. I'm like, go fuck yourself. I'll do what I want. You don't tell me what to do.
Go to bed when I want, and I'll eat what I want. And
I'll see what I'm going to eat
this bag of fudge rounds, and I'm going to like it.
But that part of us not imposing that it's very... It's trying to be as careful, but then we also know as professionals, because I'm not going to say that person's name again. I'm not saying it because this isn't about mocking somebody. This is fear of rejection, those fears we still have. We've just had aspects of what we do in certain areas that we've managed to find ways to work with that discomfort and still perform at a level that doesn't wreck it so badly that we can't get paid for doing it, if that makes sense. Like you still have to be able, like if you couldn't go out on stage and perform and the theater's selling tickets, doesn't matter if you're having a high anxiety day, if they need to sell their tickets or they're getting the understudy or the whatever, like it's just how it is. You need to be able to show up and do the thing. But the one I was going to say, we didn't, I'm not going to say the name because I feel for them, but they were a super fan of a certain project you've been in, and they tried to talk to them about, hey, well, maybe we can work a little, because I was very impressed with all the things that they had done. But then I tried to say for graphic design stuff, like maybe we could do some of this, and then I can start to show you some of the things that go on. But whatever you do, you can't take other people's IP. We can't just take something. And that's exactly what they did. And then also their skill level, they weren't trained. And I was like, okay, maybe that wasn't. And we were going to say, hey, we can't. Saw that the gap was too far for them, that they needed to go acquire a few more skills. For what we needed. Now, they were doing great in their own right, doing their own thing. Good for them. It is so hard to make something from nothing. But for what we're doing, we just needed what we needed when we needed it. And training, that's why people pay for education, or you have to be able to be autodidactic, go out, do your own thing. Like you said, you see me seeing something and I try it and I go in and I learn it, and then I go woodshed the crap out of it, still to be marginally okay. It's hard work getting good at things. But one thing that I loved from when I was a personal trainer was learning about the SAID principle, SAID, specific adaptation to impose demand. You're going to get good at what you work on. Like, I'm not going to be good at learning I don't know, like basketball layup, or not that I'd ever be able to dunk without a big trampoline or something, but I'm not going to get good at dribbling the basketball using crochet needles and crocheting. That's just not, sounds basic, but people think that they can just waltz in and be good. But that person who came to us, that we tried to give a chance to them, and you could just see that the gap was too far, and tried our best to say, hey, this isn't ready. And then they ended up actually crying. And that was really uncomfortable, because we don't want to dash dreams, but this is part of what the industry is. And we've seen people all over the place that are in the industry that still feel like they are owed because they've achieved that thing. Like that story that you talked about with the guy that was starring in an indie, and then he was almost basically background speaking, like a couple of speaking scenes in a Christopher Nolan movie with Al Pacino and Robin Williams and Hilary Swank. And this guy all of a sudden thinks he needs more lines. Like, come on, get a grip. But this guy crying because we said, sorry, your attempt at graphic design with stolen IP is not something we can use. I know the legal aspects. You can't be doing that. We're not going to do it. You can't do that in the industry. You need to know those. These are kind of, for me, basic things. I'm not going to put us in harm's way because I know the legal ramifications. I cut my eye teeth working with lawyers. I'm not going to draw that in. But we want people to be successful, but coddling, like participation ribbons aren't, it's going to be difficult for somebody if they can't take a little bit of a critique of, sorry, you can't steal IP. Yeah. And this is a grainy cut and paste thing that you took and you don't know how to use the software. So if you can draw it, I even gave some suggestions of like, make it look like it's, like I like scribbly, like using clash of context stuff. It's interesting design things, but yeah, it was like, whoa, then we're going to have to be comforting him every time, or a person every time a critique. And we've experienced that before. That person whose project you tentatively, like that's what those LOIs and MOUs and letters of interest, memorandums of understanding and stuff that you'll say, but you don't know by the time somebody gets their project funded. Some of these projects take 10 years. And I think Family Law, was that the one that we heard? It could have taken up to 10 years. The showrunner may have, I don't know if but I remember hearing about that movie, The Meg. It took like 20 years. Some projects take decades to get made. So you can't just lock in and say you'll be there, but a new person who ended up getting worked up on the phone, but he said, and it's like, no, it was a letter of interest. It wasn't an ironclad contract. It's if the stars align by the time you get funded and you go into production, and that window of time you're going to be shooting in, which might be lots of features, not all, but like maybe a Canadian feature. I think the Corner Gas movie, was that 21 days?
Yeah. 21
days. So maybe a micro or a lower budget might be that or less.
Kayak to Clemtu is 21 days too.
Okay, so these kinds of things could be that kind of length of time. So if they happen to be shooting those 21 days and you're free, and the script is still something you're interested in, and the pay and the budget and the other cast members, finding out who's who and are they people you want to work with. Because if it's a newer one, it's definitely not going to be in the pay, is not going to be the enticement. It's going to be, do you like who the other people are? And then, are you free those 21 days? Amongst a bunch of other things. But that, and having that person they ended up flipping out. What is it? Is it because of the this and that? And it's like, no, just can't. Well, why? And it's like, this is the thing that I know it is really hard when you're in a creative industry to not get feedback. We've talked about that before too. And it's just, and then also it is impractical. Not every production, if you audition 100 people, you're not going to be able to give feedback to everybody. That'd take forever. You give a half hour of feedback to 100 people, there's 50 hours. Do you have an extra 50 hours to give constructive feedback to people? Maybe some of them start crying. Some of them are, going to burn you in effigy. Who knows? But you can't do that. It'd be nice to get feedback on you putting your blood, sweat, and tears and heart out into something, but it's also not practical to do it. So people that want to be in this as an industry, that's another part of it. Oh, it'll be fun. We'll just do this and we'll make it, and it'll all be the family. And you've been on projects where you have the beautiful thing where you don't want it to end. And then there's that too, grieving the loss of that film family or theater group family that you end up grieving that loss, because you gel, you come together, you spend all this time together, you get to know each other, and then you never know if you'll see them again. You live in different parts of the world. It is. It's upsetting. You've had that a lot more than I have, because I do my lone wolf kind of stuff. But yeah, I can feel that, because even just some of the people that I've got to meet, like Cheryl and Bill, and thinking of them and going, Bill, that corsage. What exactly? Is he like production designer? What's his role again? I don't know what
He's a head carper, a builder.
But he
makes.
But I remember that I was going to go watch that play with him and telling him, and he reminds me of my dad, just like a salt of the earth, hard worker, just make things, do things, very
no
practical.
pretensions about Bill at all.
Yeah.
He's just a straight shooter, a human being. And
but I loved his face when I said, so we're going to, you're my date. And then I started to play into that a bit and seeing his face. And I'm like, I don't know if you got warned that I'm a little bit handsy. And then asking him about what kind of corsage. And I could see him getting a little. And then I got him one. Didn't I? I brought him a corsage, a wrist corsage. Or did I bring him a boutonniere?
I don't remember which.
But I did get him something. And I remember his face. And it was just... getting to know people like that is just, But there's
he's a class man.
Oh, we got to call him.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago?
Yeah, a while ago. He phoned me and I haven't returned his call, so I phoned him up and just checking in, just seeing how he's doing. He's working. He's working, makes him happy. His kids are doing okay. He's got good health, so.
Oh, well, I'd like to. I'll give him a call.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to him myself, but I've been so grateful to be able to meet a whole bunch of really wonderful people.
My favorite Bill story is when we were in Kamloops, loading in our show and stuff, and our set got bashed around a little bit and needed some fixing, and also needed some modifications needed to the set. And Brad, our director's there, traveling with us, and he's going, "Yeah, you need that? Why don't we just, we'll get that fixed right now. No problem. Yeah, we'll get it done before. Bill, oh yeah, this needs to be leveled up. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we can do that easy. Bill." He's the go-to man, anything. But Brad will promise it and Bill will do it. Oh, sure, no problem. Not at all. Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. Bill. Yeah, buddy.
Oh. Yeah. And Brad too. Yeah. Like I'm tearing up again.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Just all these beautiful people that I've had the privilege to meet because of the work you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it does make me long for having more of that. But I know I also, the more that I've learned about this, and even this conversation's just furthered it again, of my own adaptation to the imposed demand. I was by myself. All these new schools every year, a new kid walking in, I was by myself.
Yeah.
I didn't have siblings. I'm down on the ground, and that's where we talked before about having a sense of humor and being able to read the room and read who's who and read who's dangerous, who's friendly, who's the alpha, who's going to be the mean kid, who are the bullies, and also, where am I? Who's this teacher? What classes? Like a lot of upheaval and a lot of having to learn how to roll with things. But we, we're sort of in that again too, but learning the difference between what your experience is, like that one that you said before, my love, it's still giving that time when I was talking about stuff and it felt kind of basic, but when you went, it's like we're two different people. But it's true how many people forget that just because you're like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Well, in your own mind, until you start realizing that the other person's like, where I've been pitched so many times like that. I won't say her first name, but she was in one of the programs we were mentoring. And she just had that idea and that horror thing. And I was that horror film script. And I went, yep. And then she's like, yeah, it'd be this, and we can co-write together. And then the second it was like, oh, and then I said, well, pitch me. And she's like, so tell me why would it be fun for me? Like, or what, pitch me. What's like, because it is kind of like, what's in it for me? And she goes, because it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know what I think's fun and not fun on my own time versus teaching versus being paid for it versus volunteering to do? Like, it's a big undertaking. Yeah. And then co-writing with somebody with no experience is, you got to be in the mood for that.
Exactly.
But we'll just, we'll carry on another time. But thank you for taking the time to talk more about this for the discomfort part.
Yeah.
And I won't put you through more discomfort here when we've got other
discomfort
things.
is perspective, right? There's points that are discomforting, but it wasn't all discomfort. There was
But I mean that when you would see and you didn't want to disappoint me.
Yeah.
And then you would have to battle some of that.
Yeah.
And then I would
my own demons and voices and tapes and
So this is really helpful because I feel like this has moved us further. And this is part again of the process of what we're trying to do because we're volunteering our time to do this on our own dime, on spec. We don't know where any of this is ever going to go. aside from us moving forward and keeping ourselves trying some new things and challenging ourselves. And so
I gotta go try and see if I can pick up an Oklahoman accent. See if I can.
Oh yeah, you've got an audition. Yeah. Okay. Well,
we'll see. We'll see.
I thank you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
I love you. Okay, wash my hands.
Ah. Okay. I think it's time. This is too racy. Okay. Thank you for being here today. Quit. Okay. 3, 2, 1.